What is your top Hamilton song, Scott? And I know that's like asking you to pick a favorite child, but I figured I needed to ask.
Well, there's one song that I have in mind right now because I've been working on it, let's say.
Sure.
And that's Nonstop.
Subtle.
Yeah, subtle. That was a double eye wink thing.
I am always working on songs. Let's be very clear.
Yes.
Yeah,
we know.
What's the one he plays right before they release the pamphlet? The In the Eye of a Hurricane.
Oh, I think it's just Hurricane. I think
I like that one just because like of how angry he gets at the end. Like when God ignored me, I took up a pen and wrote my own deliverance. And
there's just the one song that is just guaranteed to make me cry as a dad is Dear Theodosia. The song I cannot listen to that song without tearing up. Like it's just impossible.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
Yeah.
MJ mentions Yorktown. Oh God, another good one.
Okay, so can we just read the rest of the soundtrack and be done with this one?
Just read the track list. That'd be good.
Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Well, welcome everyone to episode 91 of Mythos Busters. I'm Sean. Joining me tonight are my buddies Nick. Oh no, God, Nick is missing. I had that first. I've fucked this up so bad already. Nick is not with us. He unfortunately had to work. But joining me instead are Ian and Scott. Hey,
see, Innsmouth is coming out, so we dropped our boat anchor.
Goddamn. Goddamn. I almost feel bad because he's not here, but I know you would say that to his face, so it's fine.
Repeatedly.
So we've got a fun episode for you guys tonight. We've got a little bit of news to catch up on. We got some announcements, and then the bulk of tonight's episode is we are diving beard first, or walrus mustache first, into the Harvey starter deck and reviewing the player cards. And then, of course, we'll round it out with a little bit of tentacle time. But before we do any of that, I want to see what y'all guys have been doing Arkham-wise. Ian, what you been playing lately?
Well, unfortunately, I haven't. These past 2 weeks haven't been great for my Arkham time. I've been busy with other stuff. But I did get a chance to try out Barkham Horror once, which was fantastic. I ran a Bark Harrigan deck, and then paired with a Kate Winthpup deck.
Yep. Yeah.
And Kate has my favorite deck building because it's like 5 cards that look like they smell weird. It's the exact phrasing. So I chose for that track shoes because, of course, track shoes are just going to smell weird. Lucky cigarette case. I think that would probably smell weird. And also a leather jacket has a very distinctive smell. So those were my choices. But
I would have probably argued for Milan Christopher in that case, but I suppose she's secret, so you could take it anyway. But definitely, like Dr. Milan, he smells of like alien viscera, almost positively,
and formaldehyde.
Yes,
I think I need to compile a big list at one point of all the cards that I think smell weird. So I can have those ready. I need to assess each card in Arkham based on their weird smelling quotient. From 1 to 4.
The most useless task ever.
It would take so long too.
It's so like objective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally just that's what I love best about it. It's just like just whatever you want. You think it smells weird.
So I have to ask though, Ian, how did you resist the urge to build Duke out of the box?
That's a good question.
It wasn't a real question. I hoped you guys would find that funnier than you did.
I was like, they're all dogs.
I'm sorry to disappoint you. I think I was just like, throw the Guardian and Seeker together and see what happens.
Right.
I knew I definitely wanted to do Kate because of the funny smelling. Tickled me. The other Arkham I've been playing is I started a TCU campaign because in the run up to Iron Man each year, I like to play the campaign a little bit to make sure it's fresh in mind and I'm ready to go. Like any big event, like if you were a boxer, you'd want to train beforehand, and that's how I treat Iron Man. It's serious business.
Yes, it is.
So I'm doing a two-handed run. I just started with Harvey, wouldn't you know, because I also wanted to play him before this episode when we talk about him, and then I paired him with Jacqueline, and they crushed Witching Hour so far, so we'll see how the rest of the campaign goes.
Nice.
And these are, I should say, tweaked versions. These aren't the starter deck list. I made some changes, and I was happy with them. And Big Hand Harvey is ridiculous when it's just like half my deck. I was up to like 15 cards in my hand at one point, and I'm just like, okay, this is literally half my deck.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll get there as we get farther into the episode, but Harvey's weird because I feel like I'm doing a lot. And then at sometimes I also feel like I'm just drawing cards, and that's all I'm doing. And there's kind of an ebb and flow. But granted, I have only played him starter deck pre-constructed, so I big grain of salt.
I did have to throw my random basic weakness back, which I've actually been pretty hardcore. I used to be a little more fuzzy on random weaknesses, like I do the draw two and pick one. But ever since last Iron Man, I have not mulliganed a single weakness.
Dude!
I've taken the first choice every time, except for today when I drew Doomed for draw Harvey.
Oh,
okay.
God, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That was like, that's like, there's no point. Like, I might as well just pick a different investigator to play at that point.
You concede the campaign, and you start up a new one under the same circumstances.
Yep. Yeah, there's no point to doing that.
But dude, I have become the same way. Running the drawing of the weaknesses at Iron Man last year kind of changed it for me. It kind of made that mystery grab a lot more fun than it ever used to be. Also, quick aside, I don't know if anyone else had this issue. Doomed works way different than I thought it did. I thought it was so much faster than it actually is. I didn't realize that first one has to hit you twice before you replace it. I thought like literally every time you draw one of those cards, you put the next one in your deck
too.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's
5 hits. Yeah,
it's 5 hits. It's a bad weakness still, and it's not nearly as bad as I used to think it was because RTFC. Yeah. Scott, what you been playing?
Well,
unfortunately, not TNA.
I know, right? This week, hopefully, we can get a game in? Question mark.
I can't see why we wouldn't.
Okay. I like Ian because we were doing TNA. We have a TCU run going, and our plan was like, oh yeah, we'll have that done by Iron Man. So we get or at least get pretty far in. So it's kind of our Iron Man dry run, and that has not come to fruition. Because schedules are terrible. But anyways, I have... The only campaign I've been running lately is I took a Stella deck solo through TCU. And I am on... Oh god, I forget the name. The 6th scenario with the Brazers.
Union and Dissolution.
That's it. I always want to say Undimensioned Unseen. Because it has the same rhythm in my mind as far as the
got
name,
a very similar cadence and like the thesaurus found words.
Yeah. Yes.
Lovecraft was great at that.
Yeah. But yeah, Stella, she's been doing amazing. Like,
she's good. She's quite
so
good.
Yeah. Mine is the slightly modified deck, not the original OG intro player deck. But
sure.
Because I was like, I want to go at this hard, so not on hard. Sorry, I was playing standard. I just want to go at it hard. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So your run really is not so much to test your player deck; it's just to refamiliarize yourself with the scenario cards.
Yeah, and also just to I think
you're not running Stella at this point.
No, I'm not. No, to me, I was just like, I want to stretch Stella's legs. I want to see what I can do at my first attempt at really, like, I think Stella's skill ceiling is really high. And I want to see where I fall on that scale right now.
Right.
And see what, like, and then looking back on games, like, what did I miss? Where could I have failed things? Where could I have used certain cards? And yeah.
That oh-so survivory of questions one might ask oneself.
Yeah.
Where
Should
did
I
I
have failed that
succeed?
test instead of passing? Yeah.
Talking about successes as failures. Cool, yeah. Well, I guess for my part, I also cracked out Barkham Horror. I was able to play my first time 4-player. So Justin came over and happened to see my sister and her boyfriend, who are they're all kind of in like my little circle of people who are being reasonable, so I'm okay being in the same room as them. And Justin threw together a couple of the decks. I threw together Duke and Jacqueline Canine. And ended up playing Jacqueline because I just picked last, and it ended up being Mystic, so hey, cool. But, so first of all, the investigators are really fun. There are so many of those abilities that I just really wish were in the game proper. Like, I know we can technically use, mechanically, the investigators, but, like, I kind of want to see what it would look like in the normal game to have an investigator that lets you just bury cards underneath and keep drawing and put away for later and then commit. And I had a really fun time building and playing that Jacqueline deck because it was a very different Mystic-y build just by virtue of that, I guess by the ability being a little bit offbeat. And then, Duke as well. Duke swinging a fire axe around. I guess you have to be a little bit, you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit, but...
As dogs are wont to do.
So anyway, but God, really loved the scenario. It kind of sucks that some people are having a harder time getting a hold of it than others. So good luck to everyone out there. I hope you find fruit in your search because it's a really cool product. And again, I still can't believe it actually exists.
Yeah, it's just so playful, the different effects on the encounter cards. I don't want to spoil any of them because it's fun just discovering and reading them for the first time.
And looking at art that you've kind of already really seen, funny. But there's new details that you catch. Yeah.
And just the ridiculous, like you mentioned, the deck building is fun. Like Bar Kerrigan has 0 to 5 weapons. So I had a flamethrower and a switchblade with reliable on it, which was a lot of fun. And then he had a smoking pipe. Pipe smoking dog with a flamethrower and a switchblade. Nice. And it was a good time.
Our bark drew Dendromorphosis as one of the basic weaknesses, and it's like, oh, right. Talk about your direct counters. But yeah, played through it. Just real fun. Just real fun. This obviously was an experiment on FFG's part. I really hope that they continue to do this. If we get one fun joke, I don't want to call it joke because that implies it's, I don't know, lesser in some way. But if we get one that's kind of based on fun and it's wacky and crazy per year, I'd be a super happy camper. So, And then I'm also halfway through my interconnected 8-part campaign where I'm testing all the starter decks. It's going pretty well. The new investigators, I really think they did a good job at kind of that sweet spot they were trying to hit where it's like, hey, this is an investigator that really kind of explores a core part of their faction's identity, but different ways you can build it. Like, I think the starter decks for the most part have just like completely delivered on that mission statement. So really enjoying them so far. Guys, let's move it on into the normal episode here. So first, a sizable announcement for Farcom Knights. So after taking input from many of you and from other community members, and as well as kind of looking at other potential resources, we decided to shift the focus of the dates we'd originally reserved for Farcom Knights and sort of to hone our focus. So instead of having another full con during that weekend like we did for Farcom Con, we are just going to focus the entirety of our organizational efforts on Iron Man on Saturday. So that means we are not going to be officially organizing any events beyond that. So instead, we're going to be organizing a different version of Farcom Knights at some point in the spring. So obviously more to come on that in the future. So this way we're going to be able to make Iron Man as big and as great an event as we can make it. And we'll have a chance at some additional Arkham-related content to break up the tedium of the winter months that we expect to have due to COVID-related isolation. However, we are still encouraging any of the other content creators who want to run events that weekend to still run them. And we hope to kind of collate, I think is the word I'm looking for, and gather all the events that are going to be running that weekend so we can point people at them. So hopefully it's going to be a weekend still plump with Arkham. Just our focus is going to be on Iron Man. So obviously, if you're running Iron Man with us, check out our Discord. We'll pop the sign up sheet link in the show notes again here, and pay close attention to episode 92 because that's when we are going to be completely finalizing all of the fun little tidbits for Iron Man in 2020. For now, though, let me whet your appetite with some of the things that we already have kind of more or less finalized. We're doing the prologue on Friday night before Iron Man. If you want to just tune in and watch us struggle, feel free. We're also putting it out there that if anyone wants to join us at our starting point and use whatever our resolution is to the prologue, definitely gonna encourage that as well. It will add a fun amount of pressure to what we're already doing.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I remember seeing some people saying, "Oh, we're just gonna roll some dice or whatever for the intro," and I was like, "Why don't we do it so people can just use our results, right? Like,
let us be your human D12."
Yep.
Yes.
Or whatever you were gonna roll.
Now, do we intentionally sync everyone?
I don't think we even need to.
I'm probably going to get stuck with Penny, so I can't imagine I'm going to feel like doing much else.
Yeah. Oh.
And then after the prologue, okay, so those of you who have joined us at Iron Man last year, and who maybe also who listened to our stories, we did an opening ceremony for Iron Man last year that we really want to continue going forward because it ended up being really fun. The drawing of the weaknesses that we mentioned earlier, where basically we have the set of weaknesses, and anyone who wants to opt into doing this on the day, we draw your weakness for you. In person, it ends up being really fun. You kind of get to see who gets what, and if someone draws Doom, there's sound and crowd noises made, and it's just a great time. Been kind of struggling as to how we're going to adapt that to the digital format. So basically what we're looking at is after the prologue is finished, we're going to sit down on our Twitch stream with anyone who wants to come in, and basically anyone who wants to sign up to have us draw their weaknesses for them, we'll do it. And yeah, it'll just be a good time. We're going to have some drinks, we're going to get pumped for Iron Man, and then we will see you
bright and early.
I don't want to say bright and early because time zones, right? But yeah. We'll see you on October 24th for Iron Man TCU. It's going to be great. So excited.
It'll be the longest time I've ever streamed in my life.
Yeah.
That's going to be like a 10 to 12 hour stream.
I want to see what we look like. We need to take a picture of all four of our faces when we start and when we end, and just watch the age and defeat that has set in over the course of 12 hours of straight Arkham.
We've done really well in all our Iron Men so far. This, I'm a little nervous about TCU.
I'm worried about this one.
Yeah, this might be the one.
Well, it was freaking Forgotten Age was almost the one with City of Archives last year. Whew.
Yes.
Yeah. Whew. And Shattered AM.
And Shattered,
touch and go.
That got dicey AF. Yeah. All right. So anyway, so more definite details are going to be coming on the next episode. Next episode, we're also going to be running over our own individual teams' prep for Iron Man, so hopefully that'll be useful to the rest of you who are out there prepping for running TCU as a campaign. We're going to break down every scenario, what our strategy is, how we arrived there, what it's going to look like, and yeah, it's just going to be pretty fun. And then, of course, the rest of the details for our Farcom Nights events and others that are still going to be running events over that weekend will be contained in next episode too. So stay tuned for that. Ian, what patron news have we?
All right. So first off, thanks to our board members, Chris B, Chris H, Chris M. That's our conglomeration of Chris's. Morton, Jared, Ian, Kyle, Philip, Dave, Abilio, Nathan, Chad, and Robert. Thanks so much, board, for your huge support of the podcast. And special shout out to a random patron this time around is to May. Thanks, May, for your support as well. And mythosmerch.com. Make sure you visit mythosmerch.com. We've got all kinds of swag. Probably more different kinds than you could ever imagine, that you can purchase for yourself that has our lovely logo on it. If you've ever purchased or won any of the stuff that we offer, we'd love for you to share those pictures with us, take pictures of the stuff, including recently, all of our board members and our $15 members should have received the swag from FarcumCon, or it should at least be on its way. And that was the amazing tokens with our Mythos Busters logo on it. And I use those tokens as my default Clue Doom tokens now because they
came out so well. They came out so well.
They're so amazing.
Huge props to Pat again, and to working with Miles on those, because they came out so well. Also, I don't think we've mentioned this on the podcast, and shame the hell on us for it. But if you saw our FarcumCon swag and thought, "Oh my, I'd like to have those," and you don't have them yet, you can go buy them now on the Orbit's website. So go check it out. Now they're out there. It's great. Like, you can just give Miles money, and he'll give you what you want. Capitalism.
Wow. Money can be exchanged for goods and services.
Good call. I did not even know they were sitting there right this moment.
Yeah, so
go buy them. They're amazing.
They're great. They came out really well. Like Arbit's, the make and craft of the tokens themselves, the entire set is just great. They're for the most part my favorite set of tokens. But ours specifically, he's got them out there I think he's got it out there as a 2-player set. And in addition to all of that, anyone can use the code MythosBustersDirect to get 10% off that set when you order for them. So this is a special deal that he's doing just for our podcast listeners. You guys are the only ones who are ever going to get this code just for listening to this podcast, and that's 10% off. So again, huge thanks to Miles and to Pat for helping us realize this dream. It's just been great. They're great tokens, so you too can have Mythos Busters tokens.
Okay. Any updates on the tattoo, Sean? I think it's pretty much the same as last time, right?
Well, since you asked, Ian, I've had a little bit of irritation, which is new for me. I've never actually had a tattoo like act up after the fact in the healing process. The tentacles on my arm are actually kind of raised a little bit, which makes them look super fucking cool, but it's itchy as hell, and it takes like every ounce of my willpower not to scratch it. But
so you're about 2 weeks away from your final transformation into a Mythos creature.
Exactly right. Exactly right. The tattoo will come alive, consume my corporeal being, and I will exist as a being of pure energy.
And that's all thanks to patrons. So
thanks patrons. You made it happen.
But yeah, so I'd say the only other thing is, we've been working on a lot of FarcumCon stuff and other side projects. I haven't gotten the chance to really dive in and edit the tattoo footage that I mentioned last time, because I think it's going to take some outside eyes to really help me dial in what needs to go in that video. But that will be up hopefully in the next little while, and we'll definitely notify everyone when that's out there. So if you want to see me in pain and talking about really weird movies and TV shows with my tattoo artist, who is a fascinating woman, we'll let you know when that's out there.
You just want to edit out all the crying, don't you?
No, that's the most important part, right?
Yeah, there'll be no video left.
It's like the beginning of Moana. That guy's getting the tattoo, and he's like, "Oh God, is it almost done yet?" And it's like half inch started. Yeah.
All right. Our next patron goal, as a reminder, is that we'll create another standalone scenario, just like we created Consternation on the Constellation. When we hit that goal, we'll start kicking that scenario into the... I want to say production, but not production. First, we got to design the thing first. So we'll kick it into design once we meet that goal.
Pre-production, some might call it.
Right. We talked about dissonant voices a little bit. So Forgotten Age is all done. Dunwich Legacy is in progress. And we have plans in place. We really want to get TCU cracking out because the TCU Iron Man is coming up soon. So expect some TCU dissonant voices files to come out soon. And again, that's our project where we create audio files of us reading the campaign story text from all the campaign logs of a cycle. And finally, last but not least, we do have some new job titles to give out. First up, Michael Lewis is going to take on an important consultant role. Michael Lewis is going to be our Numenorian flood consultant. With all those floods coming soon, with Innsmouth on our radar, we had to bring in someone from Numenor to consult on floods. So that'll be Michael Lewis. Colin Bartledas will be our Innsmouth, speaking of Innsmouth, will be our Innsmouth branch office port officer. So if you're bringing anything in or out of Innsmouth, you probably have to talk to Colin.
It's an important role.
And
important job.
Very important role, yes. Yeah. Esben Johansson is gonna be our Barkham Doggy Daycare lead groomer. What a job. Just get to groom dogs all day.
Well, here at Mythos Busters offices, we have that doggy daycare downstairs. So when you come to work, drop your dog off, and we hired Esben to, kind of give him a haircut while they're there. So
yeah, and we just got to make sure we give Esben the helmet for when the summon hounds need their nails clipped.
Yeah, some people do drop off their hounds. Their hounds come out of the corners, so it can get messy. But I think that concludes our patron business.
Beautiful. We had some news, did we not?
Oh, and I realized, did we ever?
Scott, lead us through it.
Oh, yeah, gosh. Okay, so announcing
Thank you for volunteering.
Announcing the second Mythos pack in the Innsmouth Conspiracy Cycle, Devil Reef. So we got a preview of the second pack.
Scott reading it for the first time live, in case anyone didn't.
Always makes for good.
I read this and I was just like, I had to click on the article and everything like that. Basically, we're going to get a boat and we're going to go around the ocean. It seems
we're getting a vehicle.
Yeah,
a vehicle. Finally,
I mean,
we're
it's
on
a fishing
boat.
I'm on a boat, man. It's going fast, and
it even has the vehicle trait, so there's no doubt, and a vehicle keyword.
Yeah,
it's happening. It's happening.
I feel like MJ just really wanted to solidify that. Guys, this is a vehicle. Okay. If you weren't sure, check it twice.
Yes.
So it looks like we'll be floating around doing stuff, going to different locations. So I'll just read off the fishing vessel because it's there. I assume it's going to be a story asset, but it's a null costed asset. Vehicle traded, vehicle keyword. While you are in this vehicle, treat your location as if it were unflooded. An action, move fishing vessel to a connecting ocean location. Toot toot.
That was really
no
sad
sailing test required.
Oh yeah. Oh no, God. Compass, no heading. Unfortunate.
That we know of.
Right.
No, true.
Yeah. So we also got a wide display. We'll skip the locations because I know we try and let people read those if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
But we got a few player cards. And let's see here. I am going to give I'll give the spell, the Guardian spell, to Sean.
Ooh, seems good. Alright, so we have Radiant Smite, which is a level 1 Guardian event. It's 1 cost. It has willpower and combat icons. Spell, Spirit, and Blessed traits. Those are all important traits, it turns out. Fight. You may use willpower instead of combat for this attack. When you initiate this attack, search the Chaos Bag for up to 3 Blessed tokens and seal them here. For each Blessed token sealed on Radiant Smite, you get +1 skill value and deal +1 damage for this attack. If this attack defeats the attacked enemy, return the sealed tokens to the token pool. Otherwise, release them. Token pool referring to the chaos bag, right? No, token pool is like the set aside token pool.
Yes.
Release them is returning them to the chaos bag.
Correct.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
so
there it was. Yep.
Yeah, so if you successfully use the tokens to destroy something, they are used, essentially.
Right, okay, but if it's only partial damage, then you get to throw them back. Okay, that's not bad.
Or if you pull the old auto-fail, then you get it back too. Yeah.
Right. At 1 cost, 1 XP, may use instead of combat. Like, this is like, if you're running Bless tokens, this is a really slick little card.
What I like about this and the other cards we're going to talk about is that it kind of shows that, like, how I think we might be using Blessed and Cursed tokens for more than just adjusting the Chaos Bag statistics. You know, like, you're going to want some Blesses and Curses in the bag to do things like this, like searching for them and sealing them. So.
It definitely feels like it's going to be a legit deck strategy instead of just... Well, and I know that actually seems really obvious, but instead of... I think you're right. I think a lot of people really focus on, okay, what does this do to the odds of the Chaos Bag? When it's just like, it almost feels like that's kind of a side benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's... The nicest thing about it is that cheap cost. 1 cost is really cheap. Father Mateo can access this thanks to the Bless tree.
Calvin
could potentially use it. I always forget whose spell. Is that Akachi or Marie?
Marie,
right?
Marie.
Yeah.
Akachi is used charges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got to have Bless tokens in the bag to use it, but it seems like that won't be too hard to do.
Seems pretty solid.
Ian, I'll ask that you avert your gaze of the art in this next card.
Yeah, this art is... there's stuff going on there. Like
it's not often art makes me shiver, and this one did it. I was like, ooh.
Yeah,
it's not making me as nervous as trying to pronounce it is.
Yeah, I think what's disturbing is the rest of the art looks so normal, just like, and then you get up to the eyes and it all goes downhill from there. But anyway, Gaze of Araxis. Gaze of O is a 2-cost level 2 seeker event. Combat and agility icons, spell and cursed traded. Reveal 7 random chaos tokens from the chaos bag. Deal a total of 1 damage plus 1 additional damage for each curse or tentacle token revealed, divided as you choose among enemies at your location. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity.
Huh.
Wow. That seems a little bit wilder, doesn't it?
Seems like
7's a lot,
it is.
but you're looking for very specific tokens, so...
It's guaranteed 1 damage, and then it's 1 additional, so you could possibly do 8 damage if you drew perfectly.
Right, if the bag is just lousy with curse tokens. If it's just tentacle token in the bag, then...
This is terrible.
Yeah, but like even a few curse tokens, you have a decent chance of, let's say you draw a tentacle and a curse token, that's 3 damage. Testlessly, in a sense, because you're revealing chaos tokens, but it's not like it's a test. And you can divide among enemies at your location. Yeah, seems pretty good card to me, especially if you're loading up the chaos bag with curse tokens.
Yeah, if you're going that curse route, this could be insanely strong. But very niche. Like, you have to be going that curse route. And I feel like we're going to have, like, we have to have a way to get curses out of the bag that isn't just drawing them.
Yep.
Right? So you can, like, load up curses, use a bunch of cursey cards, and then somehow cleanse the bag.
Yeah. I think this is what this is making me think of, and we'll talk more about this when we get into the Harvey cards, because there's a card worthy of discussion there, but gone are the days where seekers were really hurting for damage cards, because I feel like they've gotten a few options lately, and all of them that I can think... no, that's not true. Some of them do involve a test, but at least a few of them don't involve a test. Mm-hmm. So they've gotten pretty good at, like, if you were clinging on to days where Seekers were subpar in combat, like, that's not necessarily the case anymore. Obviously, they don't have, like, the assets for the most part, other than, like, your Strange Solution and some other options, but they do have these events that are pretty strong in terms of damage.
Mm-hmm. They can really manipulate their destiny now.
That they can.
Manipulate Destiny is a neutral event, 1 cost, level 2, with a wild icon, spell traded. Reveal tokens from the Chaos Bag until you reveal a... so Curse, Autofail, Bless, or Elder Sign token. If you revealed a curse or a curse or a tentacle, deal 2 damage to an enemy at your location. If you revealed a Bless or an Elder Sign, heal 2 damage from investigator or ally asset at your location. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity.
He's playing Fugue in D minor for the unfinished Loom. He's just like...
I don't know what to think here.
Yeah.
So you're guaranteed to get something good. You just don't know which one you're going to get.
I feel like the problem is, exactly that. Like, when you include a card in your deck to do damage, you want it to consistently do damage. And
right.
Same for healing, too. Like, if you're including a card to healing, you want to make sure that when you pop it down, you're getting that heal. When you play this to kill an enemy, and instead heal 2 damage, you go, yay?
I healed myself.
I mean, it heals from an investigator or ally asset at your location. So there is some play there. I don't know, man. I feel like a lot of these cards, it's tough because we don't have the full suite of Curse and Bless tokens yet. Blurse tokens, if you will.
I wilt.
That's what the kids are saying these days. It's nice and cheap, 1 cost. Like, if the damage does hit, like, it's not conditional on anything. It just straight up does deal 2 damage without a test. No attacks of opportunity, which is great. That outperforms a lot of other direct damage cards for the cost. Although it does cost 2 XP, but yeah, I guess it's just the unpredictability. So I think it's a good card. It's a little hard to...
For a card that purports to manipulate destiny, you do still seem a little bit at the mercy of luck.
Yeah.
But anyway, it'll be interesting.
Might have to use it a couple times.
It doesn't ask much of you, and it's a wild icon. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. It's the sort of thing I definitely have to try before you can weigh in.
Sean, read Third Time's a Charm. I couldn't figure out how to segue into it. It's too hard.
Third time's
two segues lined up, but didn't work out.
There it is. Retroactively, I'll grant it to you. Third Time's a Charm is a survivor event. Level 2, 1 cost. Has a willpower combat and singular agility icons. Spirit traded. Fast. Play when a skill test at your location begins. Twice during this test, when an investigator reveals a chaos token, they may cancel it, return it to the chaos bag, and reveal a new chaos token. So it's a Titan Blast of Wendy that you can turn on someone else.
Yes.
So twice, so you can potentially see 3 tokens. So yes. I know it's gonna vastly vary on whatever bag and difficulty you're playing on, but I almost feel like this sits in a similar place to Lucky, but a Lucky you can spread around, where it's like, okay, but Lucky's reactive, which is what makes it so good. I don't know. This seems interesting, and I do like that it's a support card too. You can help out other investigators though.
Yeah, this one falls into that category of cards that I think of as like the that are direct tech against that autofail token. Like, these are the tests when it's like, I know I could pass this except for the autofail, and if I fail this test, I'm screwed, and which happens. And so Sometimes that's been other cards like Will to Survive that have been in that slot, or I'm trying to think of what the other one is. But this is I kind of see that for that purpose. Like, obviously you can use it for other situations, but this is really like I need to avoid certain tokens. So again, another cheap card, one cost. Not as cheap in terms of XP, but especially in Survivor, I could see using this for sure.
I think you hit the nail on the head where you're saying like this is the one test I can't fail, right? Like I need to not draw the auto fail. And Sean, like you said, like Lucky is reactive, and I think in my head like Lucky is when I'm like, man, I don't want to fail this test because it's gonna put me back on my tempo, and I'm just I got to get this stuff done and keep the game moving, right? But third time's a charm is like when we are double or nothing blasting in whatever we did there in Haster's Dim Carcosa, right? Where it's just like this needs to hit and this is going to change the entire outcome of a game. That's where this one is. And so you going into it knowing that you would easily spend this card to pass no matter what, whereas Lucky is we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think this is almost closer to like a Survivor version of Premonition than it is to Lucky. At least in its function. I don't know. This will see play, I think. I think as a one of, or if you're playing support or playing 4-player and there's going to be lots of potential targets for this, you might go too.
This is also art that tickles me because these two individuals are so engrossed with each other that they have not paying any attention to the giant creature behind them with a maw in both hand and stomach. So yeah,
I do like how the man's suit is coordinated with the woman's parasol. That's very, very classy of them.
I mean, I can see why they're so enamored with each other, but they might want to turn around.
MJ, please give us these two as like a dual person investigator. They're like a team that never separate. Please,
I like that.
Please.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have.
I need more of this pair.
Yeah. I want to see what the backstory is here. Like, this seems fascinating in this little snapshot.
We can see the backstory. It's right behind them. It's that big guy.
No,
oh my god, it has wings too. Look, it has a wing.
You know what it looks like? It looks like a green version of the Nightmare Heartless from the first Kingdom Hearts. Deep cut there, but he's just missing the white eyes peeking through the tentacles up top.
Ooh.
Oh, those are pretty important characters, actually.
MJ says in the chat, pretty important characters. ... I
mean... ...
That was a lot of dots.
That's like, oh, wait, what? Oh, wait, what? Oh, they're already in the Mythos.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking that because they have the red items. She has a red umbrella, and he has what looks to be like a red shirt or red tie, yeah.
And MJ just posted a picture of the Red Glove Man, for those who are listening in the future and not live with us.
So they are part of that same red family, apparently.
Okay, well, that's awesome. That's even more awesome. Request still stands. I want to do
exactly. Yeah. We still want the pair investigators.
You know, I think if they ever release a novella about the people with the red gloves and the red umbrella and stuff, that one might be one I might actually read.
You'd actually read it, Scott?
Maybe. No promises.
While wearing red gloves.
Yeah.
Yep.
It makes me always, whenever I see the Red Glove Man, it makes me think of Firefly. The 2x2 hands of blue.
Yeah.
But... yeah. Can confirm. All right, is that it for the article?
That is it. Yeah, if you guys want to go, if you want to be, I mean, as much as Fantasy Flight spoils, they don't spoil much, but you can see a couple locations and an enemy from that scenario. But yeah, other than that, that's it.
Excellent. All right, dudes. Let's move it on into our main topic for tonight. Only 48 minutes in. And
I'm ready.
God, why? Like, I didn't think tonight was going to be short, but we're so good at it. Let's talk about Harvey.
Harvey.
Scott, why don't you start us off by reading Harvey himself?
Harvey Walters. Yes. He is the professor. He has 4 willpower, 5 intellect, 1 combat, 2 agility, Miskatonic traded, So you can put him in your Miskatonic army, I guess. Reaction: after investigator at your location draws one or more cards from their deck during the investigation phase, that investigator draws one card. Limit once per round. Elder Sign ability is +1, draw a card, and he has 7 health and 8 sanity. I have experience dealing with these sorts of horrors.
So Harvey Walters, or Harvey draw a card. The draw a card.
Yeah.
Draw a card traded. He has draw a card for sanity, draw a card for health.
Yo, dog, I heard you like drawing cards, so I thought you could draw a card when you draw a card.
Oh, I suppose deck building.
0 to 5 Seeker, 0 to 5 Neutral.
Boom.
Yep.
Done.
Easy peasy.
And then he has, his signature stuff and a random basic weakness like every other investigator. He's got a 5 intellect and a 4 willpower.
Mm-hmm.
So strong stats.
Yeah. You want to get some clues?
Anybody want some clues? I think of note he's like the OG Arkham Files character, like part of the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game and part of the original Arkham Horror. So now's the time we finally got him. So for me, it kind of makes sense that he has this very simple like draw a card ability. He's like, I don't know, Arkham Gandalf, like the old character who actually knows everything that's happening and has that knowledge to pass on to other characters.
Harvey the White.
So I suppose let's move on to his SIGs. Vault of Knowledge is a 3-cost asset. It has willpower, agility, and wild icons. It is talent traded. Harvey Walters deck only. It is Seeker class, which of course is notable for the starter deck signatures. And I'll say again, like, I kind of wish that they had done that from the beginning. I don't know what's different now, but here we are. Harvey Walters deck only. Your maximum hand size is increased by 2. Reaction: after you successfully investigate, exhaust Vault of Knowledge, and choose an investigator at your location, that investigator draws 1 card. And then chances are they draw another one.
Draws a card? Mm-hmm. Did you say you could draw a card? And it gives you more room in your hand for cards, so you could draw one?
Well, I say he draw a card. Yeah.
Yep. It's a good signature. Get more card draw, which is good, and the important increasing your hand size.
The hand size is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, assuming that's the path you're going, and chances are with Harvey that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, Sean, sorry, just on the why it's why the signatures are class traded. Mm-hmm. There was an interview with MJ, I think, on FFG where he talked about because these are intro decks, they wanted that yellow cards are good for you, and the black and white monotone ones are bad cards.
Sure,
like for ease of whatever.
Just a very visual or very easy visual display.
Yeah, and they mentioned that this is going to be starter deck only, because I like where you're thinking, like, yeah, maybe could be cool that other people have this, but then you run into so many things about balancing signature cards, which are already supposed to be really good, but imagine if you could recur them with resourceful and scrounge for supplies and stuff like that. Like, just that's a barrel of worms, kettle of fish, something you don't want to open up. Whatever that phrase is.
It's a mint tin of monkeys.
Yeah. Chimpanzees, they're more dangerous.
Okay, but beyond this card's freaking great. Like the action economy that comes out of this card with Harvey. Like, I don't want to click economy any of this, but like, you're doing something that you're gonna be doing anyway. Harvey, like, he's a seeker, he's got a high base intellect, you're just gonna be investigating, and chances are you're gonna be doing it successfully.
I mean, it's Milan, right?
Yeah, exactly. On top of that, you draw a card, and then with Harvey's ability, chances are you draw another card. It just becomes so efficient. Like, it's so good.
It's taboo Milan.
Yeah.
For one less cost. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those signatures that I actually kind of look for in my opening hand and try to mulligan for sometimes. That's how good it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, luckily, you're probably going to see it eventually anyway, because you're just going to be drawing a ton of cards. But
yeah, because Harvey, yeah.
Because Harvey. And speaking of, let's round out his signature suite. I think we're to Ian at this point.
Yeah. Thrice damn curiosity is a weakness, a flaw, revelation for every 3 cards in your hand. Whoa, take 1 damage. And as we all know, Seekers are not great at health, although Harvey's better than your average Seeker because he has 7 health.
So if you ever hit 21 cards, it kills you instantly.
Boy, this, I think more than a lot of signature weaknesses, this one really keeps you honest until you're past it.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Because I had one experience, I think, in my first game with Harvey, where I was just drawing with reckless abandon, and this came late game without me really thinking about it, and then I took, it had to be, I think it was 4 damage in one shot, and I'd already taken some from other normal encounter shenanigans, and it's like, oh, okay, that happened, and
yeah.
I just feel like it really keeps you honest until you see if you've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's also, but I mean, I also like that it happens, and then you're good.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Mark's weakness, just in that sense of timing of like, okay, let me not go too crazy until this thing is out of the way.
It's also not direct, so if you have soak,
Yes.
you're good.
Mm-hmm.
Throw your Miskatonic students in front of it.
I'm sure that'll be a very common tactic.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's move on then to the basic weakness that comes in this deck. Scott?
Obsessive. It is... Oh, God. Gotta click it. Obsessive is a basic weakness. It is a flaw traded. Revelation. Put obsessive into your threat area. Forced when your turn begins. Discard 1 non-weakness card at random from your hand. Oof. Double action, discard obsessive. This is brutal.
I think it's oddly enough the way that some of these work. It feels like the basic weaknesses that are packaged with the investigators are like really brutal for them specifically.
Yes,
I think this
It
is
is.
less brutal for Harvey than for anyone else. Because his hand is huge. It's taking less
A
from
drop
you,
in the
and you
ocean.
recover from it
Yeah.
so much more efficiently.
the random part is what hurts me.
Yeah, definitely. Like this will steal
Like-
something very dear to you quite often.
Because, like, I mean, everyone else in this game has stories of, like, oh, he draws the tentacle all the time, or you always draw the elder thing. Like, for me, it's like, whenever I have to lose a random card, it's the card I'm thinking of.
It's
it could
always
be a
the one you
9-card
don't want.
hand. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those ones that'll be partially dependent on investigator. I mean, I'd rather have this than amnesia, which just wipes out your hand. At least you have a chance to deal with this before that happens. But yeah.
I mean, honestly, though, I find so often nowadays, especially in lower player counts, like, just your actions get so tight. There are so many times where, like, I've got an enemy, or I really needed to move into this location and do something else this turn. I had an extra action, but I don't have 2. And that 2 actions to get rid of it, it becomes such a tactical tempo hit. I'm feeling that more often nowadays than I was before, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So to sit with this plucking away at your hand for more than 1 turn, if it hits you at the wrong time, it's pretty brutal.
It's a very enlightened view of it.
Arcane Enlightenment is a level 0 Seeker asset. It has 2 willpower icons, which is pretty neat. It's got an ethereal chalkboard for art, which is also pretty neat. It is ritual traded. Your maximum hand size is increased by 1. You have 1 additional hand slot, which can only be used to hold a tome asset, and it takes up the arcane slot.
So when they released this Harvey pack,
Yeah, so this one, okay, so maybe you guys can confirm differently if you've had a different experience, but I find that Harvey's got a lot of cards, and you're spending a lot of time drawing and kind of shuffling things around and replenishing your hand depending on what you're playing. I never seem to actually want to play this out of the starter deck as it sits, and maybe that's just the construction of the starter deck. But I think in general, the assets that give you the option to trade 1 slot for another, I think it just allows for very a wide diversity of builds, because you can then choose, like, okay, I'm going to devote everything to tomes.
Yeah, I think those cards like Sign Magic, similar to this one. And God, what was the core set one? The 4 XP purple
Book of Shadows.
Yeah. I think those cards are build around cards. Like there's got to be a reason you want this. So if you're running like Super Tome somebody, you're willing to give up your arcane slot, then you build around it. Otherwise, it's like, yeah, in Harvey, probably not needed. But
and like I think maybe occasionally you'll play it if you really lean into. I think maybe more if you get to the place where you're upgrading and most of your upgrades are to get more tomes and like you end up short on hand slots. But I just find that after a certain point, I don't want to keep playing cards, even if I would like to have them in play. I just want to keep playing the scenario.
Yes,
sure.
So to play a card, in order to be able to play a card, it tends to ask a little bit much sometimes.
Well, I think part of the problem is I have included this in my Harvey deck because I am planning on using. There's quite a few good tome upgrades available now, so I wanted more hands for it, and also the hand size in case some of the other hand size increased cards don't show up. I'm not sure yet how much I'm going to play it yet though, because part of the problem is that if you're not OG Daisy, like tome, some of the tome builds are kind of action intensive as they. Already, like, because you're playing out all these tomes and some of them have actions you gotta do, so to find another action to play this is sometimes difficult. So I don't know where I'll end up landing on this. Obviously, for someone like an OG Daisy or even Parallel Daisy, I might take a look for that extra hand.
Network brings up too, like the side quest tomes. Especially ones that turn into other things.
Yep. So, yeah, I think if you're very specifically going to need those extra hands, then it might be worth it.
Fair enough. Cool. Let's move on to a tome that you might, at some point, want to put in that slot. Ian, you want to read the cilantro fragments?
Yeah, I'll go with that. Cilantro Fragments is a level 0 1-cost seeker asset. This is the Book of Books, apparently. Intellect, icon, item, and tome traded. Speaking of tomes, while you have ... 5 or more cards in hand, you get +1 intellect. 10 or more cards in hand, you get +1 will. 15 or more cards in hand, you get +1 intellect. And it takes up a hand slot. So how do you guys feel about cilantro?
Tastes soapy. In Harvey, I like it.
It's cheap, which is nice.
Yeah, it doesn't ask much of you.
It gets to the point, Harvey draws a lot of cards, so obviously you're going to have a big hand.
Yep.
It already boosts stats. You're probably already boosting, but once you get to a certain point, I don't know. I think I like it.
I feel like this is decent for a level 0 card. I feel like this is probably a card that you're going to end up upgrading out of in most decks where you include it. But to get an investigator started, to be able to just throw this down, and again, honestly, I feel like you have to be playing big hand to really make this work, because if you only ever get that, if you only ever get the +1 intellect out of this, you're probably
magnifying glass.
Yeah, you might as well have a mag glass.
Exactly,
Yeah.
You've got better options. So, I feel like you have to hit that at least 10 mark, or that 10 card mark, for this to be something you want to look at. And level 0, 1 cost, throw it down, and then it just kind of does its thing. I don't know. It's fine.
Yeah, I think it's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty much just for big hand decks, big hand Harvey decks, or any other investigator that's going that way. I do similar to I hear the hesitation in Scott's voice, which I think is some of my own hesitation, which is when do you hit diminishing returns on boosting your intellect when you start at 5, and you probably have some other boosts. Do you need another +2 intellect if you hit the 15?
11? Right, that's the
right. If you're playing expert or hard, maybe.
Yeah. I take it
on
back.
Standard. Yeah, on standard, I think you hit that point, but I do like the with Big Hand Harvey, you're living above 10 or more cards in hand for sure. And so the extra will icon can be nice, even if it's just for treacheries.
Yeah. Network in the chat says it is pronounced Seleno. It's Greek. It's one of the Pleiad. You're going to tell me how to pronounce that word, but
The Pleiades?
Pleiades?
Pleiades, yeah. Good to know.
And
Seleno.
also, Brother Zagon, cilantro fragments go well with emergency quiche. So
that is what I've heard.
yeah.
Damn. We're gonna have our own buffet table by the time this podcast sunsets.
We're sunsetting?
Oh well, yeah. It's never mind. I didn't say anything.
Anyways, the Disc of Zomna, level 0,
Bless
is
you.
a 3... thank you. 3-cost asset, willpower, icon, item, and relic traded, and reaction. When a non-elite enemy spawns at your location, discard Disc of Zomna. Automatically evade that enemy or deal it 2 damage, and takes up the accessory slot. So the leveled up version discards them, and this one automatically evades them or does it 2 damage. I really like this actually as a level 0 card. Like it, I think especially playing solo, automatically evade that enemy is sometimes as good as discarding it. Because you're like, okay, well, I know I have 1 turn left at this location before I gotta pitter patter, and that's that.
Yeah, and what's nice is that you can prep for this. Like, you throw this down and you're like, okay, now I'm safe. And that allows you freedom to get into places and take specific actions that if you didn't have an answer for enemies, you might not feel comfortable taking. And it's like, it just sits there and it does its thing. You can scavenge it back. Like, yeah. At level 0, I feel like this is a perfectly viable downgrade.
Yeah, because the upgraded one is nice, but it's sometimes pricey in terms of XP. You're like, I don't really want to upgrade into this and spend my XP on that. So it's basically fulfilling a similar function, a little bit weaker, but you can bring out a Dr. Ellie and grab it because it's a relic and kind of get around the cost that way. And yeah, I think it's especially at level 0, it's a good option in terms of enemy management for Seekers.
Yeah. Perfect. Speaking of cards we've already seen in a downgraded form, where were at me? Encyclopedia is a level 0 Seeker asset. It is 2 cost. It has a wild icon. It is item and tome traded as you might expect. It uses 5 secrets. And action exhaust Encyclopedia, spend a secret. Choose an investigator at your location. That investigator gets +2 to skill of your choice until the end of the phase, and it takes up a hand slot. So, first question before we actually discuss this card. Level 2 Encyclopedia is a core set card. I feel like people either love it or completely ignore it. There are some people who swear by it, and there are people who are like, I don't care. Where are you guys at with level 2 Encyclopedia?
Currently or back in the core set?
Yeah, that's
both.
good.
Sure, qualify. It's fine.
I think the only person I would take it in right now is Daisy. And actually from the beginning, it's the only one I take it in. So,
yep, I like it a lot with the OG Daisy. Anyone else, I have not used it much.
So what that would indicate to me is that the sticking point for level 2 Encyclopedia is the action. And I really like that this went down to level 0, and I think 5 secrets is reasonable. I don't think there are too many games, unless you are playing hard support, high count multiplayer. I don't think there are too many games where you're going to use 5 secrets and be like, oh god, I wish I had more. I feel like that's pretty okay.
Yeah.
But it still costs an action, so I still think While I appreciate what this is doing, I still think this is going to sit in that Daisy only type space.
This would play really well across from a rogue that's doing like all these actions kind of turns, like those 8 action turns, and you're like, here, +2 to a skill of your choice for 8 actions instead of 3.
Yep.
I'll never forget that knowledge is power is a thing, though. So it doesn't. It's not in this deck, but knowledge is power is a thing. So you can, outside of Daisy, still mitigate that action.
Yeah.
Though I would tend to argue that knowledge is power generally has juicier targets.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead.
You're definitely right about the rogue part. That's kind of the genesis of my original Skids Daisy pairing, was that idea of like Skids can take a bunch of actions, hit him with encyclopedia. But
And how'd that work out for you?
Depends on when you ask me. Sometimes it worked out really well, and sometimes not so well.
That sounds very on brand for Skids and Daisy.
But I do like in general with the starter deck that they're providing a lot of these level 0 versions of some of these upgraded cards, that a lot of them I'm like, I don't know if I really need to upgrade into the leveled up version anymore. Like, I kind of feel that way about Safeguard and this encyclopedia and the disc that we just talked about.
And if you think about it from a new player perspective, if you buy the core set and you buy the starter deck, or whatever starter deck it happens to be, all of a sudden you're looking at, you have more cards available to you, but it's less mental bandwidth to like understand the card pool, because this is a new card, but it's just a downgraded version of a core set card. So it's kind of cool from kind of a marketing product perspective as well.
Really fed my mind on that one, Sean.
I'm glad you guys followed me on that journey. I think where are we, Ian?
Okay. Feed the Mind is a 3-cost level 0 asset, intellect icon, spell traded, uses 3 secrets. Action, exhaust Feed the Mind and spend 1 secret. Test intellect 1. For each point you succeed by to a maximum of 3, draw 1 card. And it takes up the arcane slot. I'm doing some comparing to the level 3 version here.
Level 3 is
1 cheaper.
0 on the test, I think.
Yeah, 0 on the test.
And it has a higher max, if I'm recalling correctly.
Max 4, is it?
There is no max. It's take 1 horror for each card in your hand in excess of your maximum hex size. Yeah.
I think I kind of like this one, especially in Harvey. I mean, you're gonna pass this test quite easily most of the time.
Sometimes the encounter deck will screw you, though. You have to acknowledge that.
Yeah. Like, are you better off just packing in a couple prep sketches and being done with it? Like, do you need to...
Here's what I constantly find with the Harvey deck, and again, I have to keep prefacing that my experience with Harvey is only with the constructed starter deck. If you go to try to play all the cards that he has in his deck, you are never going to have any actions left for anything else. So each game, I find I kind of have to choose, okay, which avenue am I going through and what am I going to put my actions into? If I don't find his signature card right away, this is not a bad way to start filling your hand and kind of getting to where he wants to be. But more often than not, I find myself drawing this card and keeping it in my hand to bolster my hand size, not playing it that often.
Yeah, I actually left this one out of my tweaked version of the starter deck because I just felt like there's enough draw options, including his own ability, that I didn't really feel the need for this. So I'm not too hot on it in a Harvey. I might look at it for other Seekers.
Sure.
Yeah, I think there's something we touched on when we did Farcom Con, and we did the tempo versus momentum talking about different things, right? And drawing cards, like cards in card games, is good, right? Drawing cards is a good thing. But cards themselves do not win you the game, because if you just draw a bunch of cards as Harvey and sit at the starting location and never do anything, you lose the game. So you have to figure out what you're going to use to get his card engine going, and then allow those cards to actually do things that are productive. So,
and I feel like that's going to be the interesting part moving from starter deck Harvey to constructed Harvey, is finding that balance of cards you want to draw and cards that draw you things, but also cards that just do things. Cards that actually win you the scenario.
You got to fill your tank, right? You got to fill up your car, but at some point you have to drive it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like this thing hits differently if you're thinking about, let's say, like a deck that's like burning through cards in your hand because you're always committing versus, a different seeker that's just kind of piling them up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like one of my favorite card draw cards that has come out in vaguely recent days is Scroll of Prophecies. And I know it's a different class, but it's level 0, it's 3 cost. It's doing a similar thing, but I think Scroll of Prophecies is just kind of a better baseline for the most part. And I think it's largely because, for me, that test makes me nervous. Because if I can draw 3 and discard 1, I'd rather do that and just see more cards than risk pulling that -4 and only drawing 1. Because with Harvey, in particular, you can just spend an action to draw a card, kick his ability in to draw 2 cards. You can testless draw 2 cards, and like the ask to go to a test and have a 3-cost asset that you play down to maybe do more, the value proposition's rough. So anyway, let's move on to Forbidden Tome. Because every seeker has to have something that's untranslated or wait, what are the other subtitles? Untranslated,
uninterpreted,
undiscovered. No. Yeah, whatever. We know.
Yeah. Anyways,
carry on.
We didn't get one in TCU though, did we? I think that was the only campaign without one.
There is
a campaign without one. I forget. I'm pretty sure it's TCU. But okay. Anyways, Forbidden Tome, untranslated, is a 1-cost seeker asset. Wild icon, item, relic, and tome traded, uses 5 secrets. Action, exhaust Forbidden Tome and spend 1 secret. Draw 1 card. Then if you have... Sorry, just drawing more cards. Then if you have 10 or more cards in your hand, and there are no secrets on Forbidden Tome, you may discard it and record in your campaign log that you have translated the tome. Takes up a hand slot. The hardest part is going to be the 5 actions needed to actually spend the secrets. Not getting to 10 hand size, that's going to be piece of cake.
Yeah, tomes are just so action intensive. Like I get it, like reading a book and absorbing the knowledge takes time, but I think what happens with tomes is, even though there are options to have lots of tomes in a deck, there are only so many actions in a game, so it ends up not being that attractive, I guess. But at least for this one, there's no test involved. So all you got to do is manage your hand size at the right moment, and you can just bang hit this one out if you manage to find the actions.
Yeah. This has to be one of the most action intensive, if not the most action intensive of all the little side quest unidentified seeker assets.
I think it is, like, if you go by the quote unquote click economy, but like you need 6 actions to get this done, right? Like, you have to play it, and then you have to use it 5 times. That being said, this one also gives you that little reward they all give you as you're doing it, not at the end. It's like it pays you each action you do. So it's not really like if you were to just draw a card, this is the same action. You're just spending a secret. So
right.
Yeah.
At least with Harvey you get the bonus.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think, okay, we can talk about how hard that is and how action intensive it is, but we can't really talk about this card unless we also talk about what it upgrades into. So I think, is it worth breaking order probably to talk about the upgrades to this?
Ahead.
Yeah.
Let
me find them. I wasn't prepared to do this myself.
Forbidden Tome, Dark Knowledge is a 1-cost, 3 experience seeker asset.
Oh, they're linked right here in ArkhamDB. How freaking handy.
Huh.
They're right underneath it.
Willpower icon, combat icon, wild icon, item, relic, tome. You can only include this if you untranslated, blah, blah, blah. 4 actions. Exhaust Forbidden Tome. Move 1 damage from a player card at your location to an enemy at your location. Reduce the ability of this cost by 1 action for 4 cards in your hand to a minimum of 1 action. And takes up the hand slot. This is really cool, actually. Because player card at your location is anything. Investigator, ally, leather coat.
Asset. Yeah.
And you're just like, I mean, if you have 12 cards in hand, now it costs a single action, and you're just like, single action, I move this damage from my leather coat onto this whippoorwill. Goodbye.
Yeah, and this does not say non-elite.
Nope.
However, it does invoke an attack of opportunity, so there's that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this one probably gets played in higher multiplayer accounts. Do you guys kind of feel the same way there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're probably using it to heal compatriots. I would assume more so than yourself. It's certainly awesome to have that flexibility, but I feel like the people taking the damage are more going to be the marks of the world. So this is basically letting Mark do home front.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And I think there's no limit on it. It's just it exhausts. But this means like once you get it out, you can do this every single turn.
Mm-hmm.
There's no uses.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite as good as Secrets Revealed, though. Secrets Revealed is the other translated Forbidden Tome. This one has intellect, agility, and wild icons. And 4 actions: exhaust Forbidden Tome. You may move to a connecting location. Discover one clue at your location. Reduces abilities cost by 1 for every 4 cards in your hand to a minimum of a single action. So I feel like this is the one that's going to get played more often. Because if you can get it down to 1 action, that's pretty tight. If you're doing this for 2 just to skip a test, that's still pretty okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
the 1 action, moving and just an automatic discovery, like... Yeah, that's huge.
This with, oh god, you just mentioned it, Sean. The yellow card that lets you just play a tome action without paying the cost.
Oh, Knowledge is Power.
Knowledge is Power.
Knowledge is Power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, for fast, hell yeah, I'm on board with that. God, Knowledge is Power is such a damn good card.
Imagine if you had 12 cards in your hand, and you used Forbidden Tome, and then you use Knowledge is Power. You would just, for a single action, move 3 times and pick up 3 clues.
Well, guys, I think I might have my own version of Speed Car Ursula incoming here. Except that translating this thing is going to slow her down faster.
It's Ursula, but learning manual transmission. But once she gets it,
she looks down and has the e-brake on. Oh, whoopsie!
Once the investigator gets a handle of, the clutch and everything like that, it's like, okay, now we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, in Speed Car Ursula, though, to get up to 12 cards in hand...
That's true.
That's a big ask. I think this is more of a slow-trotting card. I think this is a big...
This is a victory lap Harvey type build.
Yeah, kind of. Where, you get up to 12 cards in your hand, and it's like, okay, now my tank is full. Now I can start doing things.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really want to combine this with Alice Luxley, because then you could move to a location, discover a clue, and then deal 1 damage to an enemy, all with 1 action if your hand is big enough.
That's the sound I make when jank levels have gone into critical.
You say critical, I say sweet spot.
Critical, sweet spot, critical, sweet spot. Oh.
So, yeah, I mean, among the untranslated, unidentified Seeker assets, I'd say this one's pretty cool. It just requires such a specific build to actually be worth it.
Yes.
Is kind of the main caveat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, you gotta be running big hand, which Harvey just so happens to be good at, but there's some other Seekers who could do it.
Sorry, really quick. Knowledge is Power. I was like, I wonder if you could use Knowledge is Power to help translate the original Forbidden Tomb. Mm-hmm. But part of the cost is spending a secret, so you wouldn't do that with Forbidden Knowledge. So, darn. So
I had that same thought, and I included Knowledge is Power in my Harvey deck, and I was like, no, but I did manage to still translate it. I think you just gotta knock it out like first scenario, and then hopefully you're fortunate in that regard. Because you don't want to keep toting this thing around and wasting time each scenario trying to get it translated.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a thing.
All right, Sean, take us to school.
Boy, this card really surprised me when it popped out, though it shouldn't have. Higher Education is a level 0 now Seeker asset. It's 0 cost. It has a willpower and intellect icons. It is talent traded. While you have 5 or more cards in your hand, Higher Education gains free triggered action. Spend a resource, you get +1 willpower for this skill test. Or spend a resource, you get +1 intellect for this skill test.
So a balanced higher education.
Yeah, you have to find it.
Imagine that.
You have to play it. And it's not bonkers efficient. It's just
1-for-1.
It's just good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, seems perfectly reasonable. I think more seekers are going to look at this than they look at what's the core set one? Hyper awareness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely better. Yeah, cheaper and better stats and all that good stuff.
I have nothing else to say.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about higher education ad nauseum. This one seems reasonable. It's good for level 0. And it doesn't cost you 8 XP if you're playing Taboo, so, wins all around.
Okay. Witten Green is a 4-cost level 0 Seeker asset, Hunter of Rare Books, 1 Intellect icon. And Ally and Miskatonic traded. While you control a tome or relic asset, you get +1 intellect. Reaction: after you reveal a location or put a new location into play, exhaust Witten Green, search the top 6 cards of your deck for a tome or relic asset and draw it, shuffle your deck, 2 health and 2 sanity, and takes up the ally slot.
I like it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like keeping this in the deck, if that's what you decide to do, is one of the main reasons that the cilantro fragments probably go out pretty early. Because if you're playing, you're probably going to have a tome or relic pretty simply. So you're going to get that stat boost. 2-2 soak is good, and then just the ability to continue to draw cards of a specific type as long as you have them in your deck. I feel like it's pretty solid. She's a good ally for the right, if you're playing with the right traits.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, and she's Miskatonic too. I like that.
Mm-hmm. And she has very, very piercing green eyes. I'm entranced every time I see this card.
Agreed.
Also, her top hat is just it's a statement. I'm not quite sure what she's saying, but it's a statement. There's a bowler. I can't tell what the top's about.
I can't tell. Yeah, I think it's a specific build. Like, I wouldn't just throw her into any old Seeker build, but just the fact that if you have, like, a good critical mass of tome or relics, like, as opposed to, let's say, the Research Librarian, which grabs 1 tome, or Ellie, who grabs 1 relic, like, this will consistently be grabbing those cards and thinning out your deck, and so you just have to make sure it's the right build to facilitate that.
I can already confirm from my own experience that revealing a location or putting a new location into play, I forget it all the time. I don't know how many times I've forgotten to trigger her, but it's at least more than 5.
That's good. Should go good in Luke, I guess, because every time you use the gate box,
that's interesting.
that puts a location in play.
Okay, I'm into that.
Yeah.
And he likes relics and tomes, kind of, somewhat.
Anyways, we should move on, or we're going to be burning the Midnight Oil here. Burning the Midnight Oil is a 0-cost Seeker event. It has the Intellect and Agility icons, Insight traded. Investigate. When this action begins, gain 2 resources.
You'll sleep when you're dead. Sounds like my motto.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty good. Doing what you normally do, and now you're getting resources like mid-action. Yeah, I don't know. Good to me.
Yeah, these starter decks have gotten this, like, suite of these, like, Winnie has the Evade one, and Nathaniel has the fight one. I like them all. Yeah, it's just giving you it's just that action compression of, instead of spending an action to gain resources with like a quiche, I can just get the resources for doing an action I'm probably doing this turn anyway. So yeah, I like all of these cards, and they're kind of supplanting quiche for me.
Oh yeah,
and they're much more interesting anyway. But I think the only time you hesitate for a card like this is if you're really relying on assets to get your skill to a viable place, and you're using you know, a triggered ability or like an action ability on, you know, a fingerprint kit or something like that, and that's kind of your mainstay for getting clues. Then all of a sudden this becomes a little less attractive. But like, it's when the action begins, it doesn't have to be successful. Like, even if you miss it, at least you still got your resources,
and those resources can be used on higher ed or other skill boosters too. So
yeah, it's pretty great. And also pretty simple. Not cryptic at all. Scott?
Oh, is it me? Okay. Cryptic Writing is a Seeker zero-cost event. Has 2 intellect icons. Insight traded. Gain 2 resources. Reaction after you draw Cryptic Writings during your turn. Play it. So fast 2 resources.
Yeah. So, Scott, you know how you were talking about how you're the guy where luck just screws you when you have a random discard? It's always the card you want to hold on to. I only ever draw Cryptic Writings during upkeep. Only ever.
Yeah.
And it drives me insane.
It reminds me of the damn hidden cache in Lord of the Rings, which is a card where you discard from your deck. It gets 2 resources. So I had a deck built around discarding. I discard like 10 cards in a turn and then draw hidden cache every single time. So that's the only reason why I'm more sour on this card than I should be. Is just I know I'm never gonna draw it during my turn. Never.
However, for those lucky few who will draw this, it's good action compression. The nice thing is, if you do end up drawing it in upkeep, it does have decent icons. You know, if you're playing big hand, chances are you're throwing a couple of cards in that will leverage your big hand to discard cards for certain things. There's at least one attack event that we're going to talk about in a little bit where, like, almost always the first thing I chuck is a Cryptic Writings for that discard.
Yeah, and it has icons as opposed to emergency cache. So.
Yep, that's another reason why quiche is falling down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, worst comes to worst, you have to play this straight up to action for 2 resources. Not the greatest, but at least it's not just like a straight up dead card in your hand.
But like 2 intellect icons, you're gonna use those in Seeker.
Yeah,
that's
Yeah. Even if you don't need them, like if you're playing multiplayer, you can always chuck them to someone else to help out with investigate. Like, it's an efficient little card. It's pretty good.
But do you go Burning the Midnight Oil, or do you go Cryptic Writings?
Porque no los dos?
I mean, you could, but
I think Cryptic Writings really goes in the I'm drawing lots of cards, big hand type build. So I don't know if I'm ever going to see it outside of Harvey. I think maybe like Daisy, if I'm running Daisy with Old Book of Lore, this might be a good grab to get resources, but I don't know. I feel like big hand Harvey's the only time this is going to see play.
I think we'll have to do some extensive research on it.
Look at this cost. 12 cost, level 0 Seeker event. 2 intellect icons, extensive research, insight traded. Reduce the cost to play extensive research by 1 for each other card in your hand. And discover 2 clues at your location.
Compared to the level 1 the level 1 version, is exactly the same card, except it's 10 cost.
So, how often do you find yourself playing that level 1 version? Big hand Mandy, and that's been it so far?
Yeah, it'll probably be Big Hand Harvey, too. I mean, I'd put the level 0-1 in Big Hand Mandy, too. Like, sure. I think 2 clues, even if it's like 2 or 3 cost, I'm cool with that. Like, we're okay with working a hunch at 2 costs, fast, gain a single clue.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, 2 clues off a location without a test is like there's power in that, and I think there's power in that particularly in single player and 2-player, because there are so many high shroud, challenging locations where Matt has put 2 VP on it and is like, haha, you can't get this, and like okay, so for instance, like the double shovel play that we'd had in our TCU game, like the ability to just walk in and say nope, not gonna mess around with clues or haunted abilities or anything that activates when I try to investigate, just not gonna deal with it. Here's 2 clues. Like that's good.
Yeah, I find testless clues endlessly useful for that reason, because it gets around. There's always going to be certain locations in a scenario that you just don't want to do the investigate for. And the fact that you can get 2 clues for that, and Big Hand Harvey is probably often going to be playing this for 0 cost or maybe 1 or 2 costs. Yeah. It's a very specific niche, obviously. You're not going to include a 12 coster if you're not really building up your hand, but...
No, just like Smaug Jenny or Smaug Preston.
just as a flex, drops 12 research.
Last card in your hand, just like... There's only 1 clue, it's 2 shroud. You're like, I got the money.
No, why not? Why not? Just flexing on the location.
It's just the conspicuous consumption deck.
Perfect. So moving on from there, the aforementioned attack ability. Scott, you want to read Occult Invocation?
Yeah. So Occult Invocation is a 2-cost seeker event with a combat icon and an intellect icon. Spell traded as an additional cost to play Occult Invocation. Discard 2 cards from your hand. Fight. This attack uses intellect instead of combat. You get +1 intellect and deal +1 damage for this attack for each card discarded as part of this card's cost.
Oof.
This is so good.
This is a good... This is the card I was mentioning earlier as one of those new Seeker attack. I just used this in my Harvey Witching Hour to take down the boss. He had 2 in hand and just went to town and then threw in a Blood Right. It was... Oof.
Mm-hmm.
Is this better than I've Got a Plan?
I think in most cases, yes.
Yeah.
Because you're not tied to that clue requirement anymore. Like, I know Seekers, like, carry around clues, but I feel like every time I need to use I've Got a Plan, my clues have been spent. And this is cheaper by 1, which is meaningful.
And it also gives you intellect boost, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're almost always going to be running around with at least 3 cards in your hand. So even if you're desperate and you have to empty your hand to make this work, like having 2 other cards in your hand beyond this is not that big an ask. And also for an attack and enemy management event, moving from 3 cost to 2 cost, that's a big skip.
It's huge. Yeah,
it does max out at 3 and not 4.
True.
Yeah, which is meaningful, but for most cases, you're probably okay with a 3 damage event.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
but yeah. But in that intellect boost that you mentioned, Scott, like I was stuck with the tower in hand. I'm like, I can't commit anything. Oh wait, it boosts my intellect.
Nice.
I'm good. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this card.
Also another one that Marie can take. So that's fun.
Oh yeah.
We're into the upgrades now.
Oh yay! XP cards. Let's start there. So that brings us to library docent. Docent?
Yeah,
okay.
Docent.
Library docent. It doesn't make sense to me. It is a level 1 seeker ally, 1 cost. Or sorry, seeker asset, 1 cost. Intellect icon, agility icon, ally and Miskatonic traded. Reaction after library docent enters play, return a tome asset you control to its owner's hand. Play a different tome asset by title from your hand, reducing its cost by 2. 1 health, 2 sanity, and obviously takes up the ally slot. So I feel like this is really good. So good. Yeah, if you're playing any tomes that have uses, this is solid.
Like Old Book of Lore 3.
Yeah, a lot of the upgraded ones, one of the ones we'll talk about soon, the Necronomicon, is just like bomb with this.
This is a great solution for anyone running Divermis Mysteries. Because if you're actually using that card and piling up Doom, then all of a sudden just be able to pop it back into your hand and take care of that impending Doom. That's pretty solid.
We can revisit our Daisy Vermes deck.
Daisy does the worm!
You know what's a really good solution for Divermis Mysteries is actually just not playing it.
I was going to go
Also
knowledge is power,
acceptable.
but I agree with your,
Sean,
your answer.
this is good for Scroll of Prophecies. Your new love.
It is. Oh, I love Scroll Prophecies.
Like
so much.
imagine Scroll Prophecies and Old Book of Lore level 3 and just swapping those two.
Oh,
constantly.
just hot swapping them.
Oh.
And then you throw in calling in favors to pull the docent back in and out and be able to trigger its ability again.
Oh my goodness.
We've
got a deck brewing.
I was about to say the
Got us too.
vaunted Miskatonic military, or whatever everyone's been calling it since the beginning of the game. Guys, we've had like 2 or 3 Miskatonic allies for so long.
Yeah.
And now we have
They're
all
good.
these ones that actually hop into play and do something. Oh, that deck is real.
Yeah.
That deck is
You know,
real, and we should build
I've
it.
actually found myself dusting off calling in favors for the first time in a while.
Yeah, it's a great card. Great card.
So we could do this in Min, because then she can take. What's the one where he's pulling her out of the water? It's the ally grabbing card.
Oh,
A chance encounter.
The chance encounter
yeah.
plus calling in favors. And we just call it Sylvan Seeker. Like from Lord of the Rings, where all the Sylvans are just bouncing in and out and you're just bouncing
Yeah.
tomes and
Just bouncing tomes instead of elves.
my
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to go to there.
All right. Well. Anyways,
We've definitely glimpsed the unthinkable here, Ian.
Glimpse the Unthinkable is a level 1 0-cost seeker event. 2 intellect icons, insight traded. Draw 1 card, shuffle any number of non-weakness cards from your hand into your deck, then draw that many cards.
That's a multi-step process, isn't it?
It is.
Mhm.
Yeah, you gotta follow those steps. So you get a card for sure, and then
Yeah.
you can choose how many cards to shuffle back into your deck and draw that many. So, I like the option of being able to say, hey, I don't have that key card I need, or this hand kind of sucks, let me mulligan it. But on the other hand, it kind of falls into that category sometimes of like nice to have for me.
Mm-hmm. I think
If you're already drawing a ton with other effects, especially.
this is a combo card. If you have combo pieces you need to put together,
Yes.
this helps you find them.
Yeah.
I think compared to its level 5 version, which I am pretty sure I've never used. It has an additional intellect, but it says shuffle any number of non-weakness cards from your hand into your deck, draw until you reach your maximum hand size, remove it from the game. So
Yeah.
I
Zero
think this
cost
works-
level 1, this asks far less of you.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this one costs 0, and the 5 XP one costs 1. Even so,
That's the thing.
I think in like a big hand Mandy or big hand Harvey, like I like this one because you don't need to draw to your hand size. You probably already are at your hand size or something, and you just want to change up your hand.
You just want to
So.
shuffle it around. Also, you were talking about combos, Scott. The first one that came to mind is this works really well with the Ancient Stone that deals damage. Where you can like throw the exact
yes.
number of damage you want to deal back into your deck and just be like, okay, you're dead now.
Yeah,
I like it.
Gatling Ancient Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
But
The Seeker is just gonna tell the Guardian to take a nap.
yeah.
I got this.
so when you look at other similar card draw options in Seeker, I think the first one that I jump at is upgraded prep sketches. You think you're ever taking this over that?
I think I'd probably go with upgraded prep sketches every time. And the reason being because this one requires me to put cards back in my deck to just redraw. It's reshaping my hand. It's not drawing me cards.
Oh, this is a great solution for if you accidentally draw the God damn it! This is going to be a thing.
Cryptic writings.
Yes, if you draw cryptic writings during upkeep, this lets you throw it back in your deck and potentially get more resources off of it. So there's that.
Yeah.
If you draw research cards and would rather have them back in your deck, this is a good solution for that.
Yes.
I feel like that might be its best stage.
Yes.
It's for throwing research back into your deck very efficiently.
Guaranteed you're going to draw those cards right back, though.
Yep. Yep.
9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Interesting. That might be something to play around with here.
Kind of esoteric, if you will.
It possibly.
Esoteric Atlas is a level 2 Seeker asset, 3 cost, has the willpower and agility icon. Item and tome traded, uses 4 secrets. Action, spend 1 secret. Choose a revealed location up to 3 connections away from your location. Move to that location. And it fills your hand slot. This is pretty good.
It does.
So the original Esoteric Atlas is level 1, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that one required that you move exactly 2 locations, which is why it never gets played.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I like this course correction.
Yes.
So much. So much. And especially if you can hit this with, like, damn, you could really scoot across the map with Knowledge is Power, or if you're playing Days and you get this action for free, that's really good.
Yeah, Knowledge of Power this is like 3 shortcuts in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially on the bigger maps we've been getting.
Mm-hmm.
I think this card is going to go up in value sneakily. And then one day I'm going to be building a deck and I'll be like, oh man, yeah, this is actually a really good card for this upcoming scenario.
I don't even think it's sneaky. I think if you are playing like a dedicated Seeker and 4-player, like one of the biggest action drains is moving to the next place where you need to hoover down. And throwing this down at the beginning of the game and just being able to zip from place to place where you're needed, like that is crazy efficient. This will see play.
Yeah. I think I've been sleeping on this one, but the more I look at it, it's like the fact that you just can kind of teleport to it in a way. Like you choose the location, teleport, you're kind of avoiding whatever's nasty in between you and it. And we were looking at the library docent. Like the other nice thing about the docent is it allows you to kind of, not only can you do shenanigans with like uses and secrets, but also you can kind of swap out your tome configuration based on what you need. So you might not need the atlas towards the beginning of a game, but once the map's been opened up and you need to get to an escape route, like you can hot swap in the atlas and you're good to go at that point, and you've reduced the cost. So I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Witten Green this is the upgrade version, so is a 4-cost level 2 Seeker asset, Hunter of Rare Books still, will in Intellect Icons, Ally and Miskatonic traded. While you control a Tome or Relic asset, you get +1 Will and +1 Intellect. Reaction, after you reveal a location or put a new location into play, exhaust Witten Green, search the top 9 cards of your deck for a Tome or Relic asset and draw it. Shuffle your deck.
If you're playing Witten Green level 0, this is a good upgrade.
Yeah, so you get the Will boost, which wasn't present on the level 0 version.
And I feel like that's what you're really paying for, right?
Yeah.
Which you search 3 deeper.
Which, great, but meh.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you're
I'm
paying
not
for
as
the
hot
willpower.
on that. Yeah, and you get an extra sanity, which is nice, but yeah, it's mostly the will. Like, if you're going hard on this Witten strategy, then you might as well upgrade at some point. But I'm not in love with this upgraded version necessarily.
It's fine.
It's fine, yeah.
I really like it in Luke because he's got the gate box out of the gate. So, like, you throw this down and he's automatically got both those stat boosts. And then it procs every time Dream Gate comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think Witten might be Luke's hidden girlfriend, and by hidden I mean very obvious and probably going to get played a lot in Luke.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I mean, there's a lot of seekers who do like that kind of boost will, boost intellect approach. So, yeah, I mean, when you're talking about OG Daisy, even like you're going to be getting those tomes fast. You're getting a will boost and an intellect boost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
She's fine. No one's writing home about her, though.
Yeah. Maybe Luke.
Speak for yourself, Sean.
Luke is writing home.
Well, I'll lose myself on those eyes any day, but I just don't know. I just don't know.
Sean, why don't you read the better cryptic writings?
The better
God
cryptic
knows you're
writings,
never going to put them in a deck.
which is what its friends call it, is level 2. Zero cost event. It has an intellect and a wild icon, still insight traded. Gain 3 resources. 4 resources instead if you have 10 or more cards in your hand. Reaction after you draw cryptic writings during your turn. Play it. So now we've crossed into, okay, it's at its worst, it is quiche with icons.
Yes.
A wild icon and
Yes.
intellect, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Good icons.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're playing big hand and doing well with it, you get a better quiche. And if you're doing lots of draw, big hand, and you get lucky, like you fortunate few out there, then that's potentially 3 or 4 resources without spending an action to get them, and that's pretty solid. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think this will go in big hand decks. There we go.
Really?
I know. Wow. There seems to be a theme forming here.
That was not cryptic at all.
It's almost like there was a plan putting this together.
Yeah.
Do you have one, Ian?
I may. I've got a plan. This is a new plan because it's level 2 and it only costs 2 this time. This is a seeker event, of course. 2 intellect icons, a combat icon, insight and tactic traded. There you go, Mark. Fight action. This attack uses... Don't play this in, Mark. This attack uses intellect instead of combat. You get +2 intellect for this test. You deal +1 damage for this attack for each clue you have. Max +3 damage.
Not to shatter the dream, but can't Mark only take level 0 tactics?
You are...
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm
correct.
sorry, everyone.
Yes.
I should have let you down a little bit softer.
Everyone erase your I've got a plan 2 decks from Arkham DB.
Like a real friend, Arkham DB wouldn't have let me make that mistake. Ian.
That is true. That is
so
true.
we were just remarking on occult God, there are so many goddamn new cards. I'm trying to remember the names.
Occult Invocation.
Thank you. Yeah. The Occult Invocation. We were comparing it against level 0. I've got a plan. Moving from 3 cost to 2 cost for an enemy management event is a big move.
Mm-hmm.
You get that here, and you get the +2 intellect. But is that worth 2 XP?
I think in my Turbo Ursula deck, I think I would probably still take I've Got a Plan, because the cards in my hand are worth... I'd probably take level 0 Occult Invocation and upgrade it to I've Got a Plan level 2.
Sure.
Seems reasonable.
I don't think I've Got a Plan level 0 goes in a deck now that we have Occult Invocation. Or pretty close to that. Like, I think Seekers will always have the ability to discard 2 cards. So...
Yeah, I mean, you could have some crazy Seeker damage deck that has both, but I think in general, I think Occult rules at level 0. Mm-hmm. And if you're not like a deck where you're really like having a bunch of cards in hand, then you might look at this one. Like, I feel like for a big hand deck, I might just stick with Occult Invocation, honestly, instead of spending 2 XP on this. But it's not because this is a bad card. It's just because Occult is so strong for level 0. Mm-hmm. And this is a good option if you're not sure whether you're going to be able to pay that cost of discarding cards from hand.
Yeah. Boy, flush with options now are Seekers. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about yet another one.
Go ahead, Sean. You seem excited.
Yeah, I know. Level 2 Mind Over Matter is, of course, a Seeker event. It is 1 cost. It has combat, agility, and wild icons. It's still insight traded, fast play during your turn. Until the end of the round, add your intellect to your combat and agility. Draw a card. So if you're running Mind Over Matter to begin with, and I think in a lot of Seekers I still am, because even though it doesn't give you the damage increase, the ability to have the flexibility to go either combat or agility, and not only for a fight or an evade test, like if you just have an ability you need to hit on a location,
you get entombed.
This is such a good solution for so many little problems. So I feel like if you're playing regular Mind Over Matter, this is a decent upgrade because you're getting a better boost and you get to draw a card off it. Making it a cantrip is a very good upgrade.
Okay, big change though. With the original one, you were using your intellect instead of your
committing,
and then you could commit your intellect icons to it. In this one, you can't commit intellect icons to that test.
Okay. Right.
So that's the downside. That is the one. Remember that, because I know there's many secret decks I build.
Sometimes.
Yeah, there's many secret decks I build, and I'm like, holy shit! I have like 28 intellect icons and a single combat icon, and it's Mind Over Matter, right? Like,
Yep.
Interesting.
So, but yeah, this is pretty good. I think in general it won't matter. Like, most Seekers pump their intellect up to like astronomical values, where you'll be fine not committing much, and turning it into a cantrip, like you said, is amazing.
Yeah. I kind of like this for the Seekers that might be using the combat and agility more than your average Seeker, like a Joe Diamond, for example. Like if he's doing some fighting and then you're boosting that high compared to the original one, you're substituting the intellect for his combat. It's like, okay. But this, when you're piling them together, then all of a sudden you got a good round of combat out of him.
Like, this turns him from a 4 into an 8.
Yes. Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. It's kind of like a fight or flight type moment almost, where you're getting that big combat round.
Quite good.
Oh.
So, speaking of cards that go from lots of play to... No, wait, hang on. This goes in the opposite direction. Lots of play to even more play. How about we go from a card that we all panned and see if the upgraded version is any better? I think we're at Scott for Seeking Answers.
Sure, Seeking Answers. Level 2, Seeker event. 1 cost, 1 intellect icon, 2 agility icons, and insight traded. Investigate. If you succeed, discover 2 total clues from among your location and connecting locations. So you could be sitting on a 1 shroud location, or let's say, I don't know, your gate box location, and then which is connected to all revealed locations.
Just
then
to
you
pull out a random example.
just a random example. But yeah, this is pretty good. I think in 2-player for sure, when there's those bigger shroud locations and it just happens to have like a 1 or 2 shroud beside it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is also good if the location next to you has a locked door or something.
Ooh.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's also really good in the scenarios where all locations start revealed, like the ones that are veiled. You could potentially just avoid having to go to a location at all and grab the clue off of it.
Search for Kadath just got much more interesting solo. Like, you just stay in the harbor. Boop. All right, see you, bye.
Man, this in Ursula, this is pretty good. Like, this as her free investigate action, I really don't hate it. I really don't hate it at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think even the original... So the original one was, if you succeed, instead of discovering a clue at your location, discover one at a connecting location. Yeah, this is much better.
So much better.
Yep. The flexibility and more clues.
I'd put this in Ursula for sure. Especially with the icon. Double agility. Oof.
Hell yeah. Oh man, this card got... This card had a glow up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, this is a big time glow up here.
Love it. Love it.
Depends on our perception of it, though.
Oh.
Entirely true. Ian?
Perception is a skill. It's a seeker skill. Level 2. 3 intellect icons. Practiced and expert traded. Max 1 committed per skill test. If this test is successful, draw 1 card. 2 cards instead if it succeeds by 2 or more. Yep, this is part of the suite of skills we're seeing in all the starter decks, where it's that basic old neutral skill that we all know and love, but they're now a class version, and they basically draw you a card, an extra card if you succeed by 2 or more.
I like this as a decent card draw option.
Mm-hmm.
Practice makes perfect grabs it.
I feel like a lot of these skills are like the what else do I have to spend XP on? I'll grab perception.
Yeah.
You know, they're good.
Because it's a skill you're going to be using.
Yep.
And it's just going to make your deck smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree, Scott. You're probably just not purchasing it right out of the gate.
It's not like, I got 4 XP in the first scenario. Double
perception. Let's go.
Yeah. These ones are, and the extra icon, like, I feel like this is like mid to late campaign. You're like, I got my deck set up. You know what? Now I have all the good cards I need. I'm just going to increase the rate at which I can access them, which is, you know, this making your deck thinner. And plus giving you 3 icons for those tests you're going to be taking. Yeah,
you know when I will take this card is right before a City of Archives.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yes. No doubt. All of the upgraded core set skills I feel like are really good in that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think this one's kind of basic. You could pretty much slot it anywhere as long as you're going to be using intellect icons, and why wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm. I mean, and like you said, Ian, if you had the Farsight to take this before City of Archives.
That's definitely what he said. Farsight is a level 4 seeker asset. It is 2 cost. It has a willpower and a wild icon. It is ritual traded. That's not one we see very often. Free triggered action during your turn. If you have 8 or more cards in your hand, exhaust Farsight. Play an event from your hand, paying its cost. And it takes up an arcane slot. Yeah. I mean, if you are playing big hand, chances are many cards in that hand will be events, and chances are you'd like to play them, and chances are if you could do that without spending an action, you'd jump at it. So this seems pretty okay.
I feel like, yeah, this is good in Harvey. Mm-hmm. This is. I think I'm going to go on a limb here. Only good in big hand.
Yes.
Builds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you have to hit that 8 or more threshold, which.
There's that too. Yeah.
Yeah. No one else is going to be hitting that consistent. I'm trying to think of what are like the bomb targets here because. I know there must be some. I just need to run through the. I think one of the good things is it's essentially turning your events fast, which means you're not getting the attack of opportunity. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to think of what are some good candidates for that.
Clue just discovering events when you're locked with an enemy, or there's a massive enemy at your location.
Oh
yeah,
burning the midnight oil.
Sure.
Investigate.
Sure.
You just gain an extra investigate action.
Yeah, any investigate actions, any fight actions, any evade actions, a move action. I don't know. It's just a free action. You can't go wrong.
Right in that electrocution window.
Yep. Oh, and it's an event too. It's not a specified seeker event.
Right? Any event.
Yeah.
Now my wheels are turning.
Now I'm thinking like a big hand daisy.
Oh, with spells.
Oh, with spells.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you run 2 copies of this, or is this like haste, where you're like, if I see it, great, it's going to do work for me, but I never want to see a second copy? Oh, you can have 2 in play.
I think it depends on the event suite you have, because if you're running like a bunch of 0 and 1 cost events, yeah, maybe you can utilize essentially 5 actions a turn.
I don't know, man. I continually go back to, if it gives me a free action for something I probably want to do, it's probably a good card.
Yeah.
4 XP is an ask.
Yes.
But
This is a build around card.
Mm-hmm.
Like you choose your spell suite, or your event suite based on this.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm thinking Daisy spells now.
Yeah. That was the slip there. But yeah, you definitely don't just throw it in on a lark. It has to be very intentional. It'd have to be a carefully crafted deck, because not only do you have to be big hand, but you also have to have the right assortment of events.
Yeah.
So,
and if you ever draw cryptic writings, you can essentially play it for free, so you're still good. This is just cryptic. This is cryptic writing insurance. Is what this is.
I'm also almost entirely positive that this art is ripped straight out of Game of Thrones. I think there's an agenda with this.
Yes.
Almost this exact art.
I also think that. Yes.
All right, so we were talking about the Miskatonic Army, and if there's any card that says, hey, play that, it's this one. And we've talked about it already on Look What I Found, so go check it out on YouTube. But Miskatonic Archaeology Funding is a null-costed level 4 Seeker asset, grant traded, which is a new one.
The only one. Yeah.
well, that'll come in handy one day.
Oh boy, I do love token traits. They're fun sometimes. We have fun.
Just
Permanent.
wait till we get the grant writer investigator.
Limit 1 per deck. You have 2 additional ally slots, which can only be used to hold Miskatonic assets. Forced, when you take damage or horror, no more than 1 of that damage or horror can be assigned to a Miskatonic asset. So it's specific and expanded charisma, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which
And
is good.
You can't throw your allies under the bus.
Yes, you can't just absolutely build yourself a meat shield at 4 XP.
Yeah.
Students, protect me!
Which kind of sucks, because that's like half the reason I want to build a Miskatonic Army deck. But...
You think I want an art student hang on? What is my role in life? To die.
Yep.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Give me that clue and kindly fuck off, please. This was probably, I think it was just my first upgrade when I went through Harvey specifically. You know, he's got lab assistants, and then he's got the 2 allies we've talked about. I like it. It's good. If you're playing the allies with the trait, this seems like a decent buy.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't found the damage and horror restriction to be enough to make me think twice. It is a restriction, and I do feel it sometimes. I'd rather be able to just like dump everything on a single ally and have done with it, but I don't know. 2 ally slots for 4 XP is pretty solid.
Yeah. We talked about it a lot on our YouTube channel, so go check that out.
Then moving on to the Necronomicon.
Ooh,
Scott.
boy.
Okay, the Necronomicon, the Petrus de Dacia translation.
Yes.
It is a 3-cost, 5 XP Seeker asset. It is item and tome traded. It has not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 intellect icons.
Surely not.
It does, and don't call me Shirley. It uses 6 secrets, limit 1 per deck. It has fast trigger, whatever we call it, electrocution window. Spend 1 secret. You get +2 skill value to the skill test. You can spend 2 secrets and draw 2 cards. Spend 3 secrets, discover 1 clue at any location. Spend 4 secrets, deal 3 damage to an enemy engaged with you. Oh boy.
Oh boy. If you build around this card, it is bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially Rogue Mandy when you can sleight of hand it.
Yeah,
out.
the sleight of hand is just gross.
Sleight of hand. There's the research librarian. Limit 1 per deck is of no issue.
Yep. We already talked about how you can bounce it with a library docent.
Yep.
Knowledge is power, of course.
Yep. If you're playing this in... Okay, this is weird. Playing this in Joe Diamond, and you have Well Prepared, Is that the one where like you exhaust it and you get the
Yep.
icons
You
on the
get 5 icons.
All 5 icons.
investigating at 9?
Quick aside, I have really started to love well prepared. Like a singleton well prepared in a deck that has the right assets, like that is a really good card.
Does a lot of work, yeah.
There are a number of cards that let you replenish secrets, so if you run out of ways to just completely pop this in and out of play, you can just throw more secrets on it.
If you're min, scavenging.
Yeah.
It's... Yeah.
It's a build-around card.
It's a build-around card that just does a ton of work, and there's so many tools to build around it. I mean, I will say if there's gonna be a bomb card in Arkham Horror, the Necronomicon's a good candidate for that. So
Yeah.
It's not a bad choice.
Yeah.
Do you guys think this ever goes in a deck where you're not running a lot of the things to play around with it? Do you think it's worth 5 XP to just play this card in a vacuum?
I think if you're playing this card, you need to milk it for everything it's got. I think 5 XP to use this once and then just wait for your deck to cycle again is a terrible use of this card.
There are better things to do with that 5 experience. I would
Yes.
Yeah.
You can do more than what this card can do with that 5 experience. But if you are taking this, you milk it.
But, I mean, God.
Like a cat.
Yes. The flexibility of this thing is great. Like, there are so many problems that this solves in one neat little package, and I do also like that it's kind of got the graded cost for its secrets, so you do also have to be tactical and be like, all right, down to 4 secrets. If I spend any more, I'm losing that ability, essentially. I think it's a cool card. I'm excited to build around it at some point.
Yeah.
All right, is that it? Is that Harvey?
We did it.
That's Harvey.
We did it.
Harvey. Okay, so quick closing thoughts on actually just playing Harvey. I know we've kind of talked about it as we go through, but do you guys have any experiences, tips, tricks that just kind of come with Harvey as an entity?
The couple games I've played, I don't know how great he's going to be solo, but he's a really good clue getter guy, right? Like, if you're sitting down at a table of like 3 players and someone's like, we need a seeker. Yeah, Harvey fits that bill. He's one of the stronger ones. Starting at 5, intellect is just really good.
He will definitely do seeker things.
Yes.
I mean, as we've talked about before, drawing cards in a card game turns out to be useful. Out of all the starter decks, this was the one I was least excited for, just because the abilities just seem so vanilla. But I will say the cards in the pack have really allowed for, like, you could do big hand before, don't get me wrong, but I feel like now we're in the state where like big hand has really reached its peak. And I guess the only thing I would say as far as tips or tricks what I've encountered with Harvey is what we've talked about already in the podcast is getting the big hand is nice, but make sure you build into your deck and you're piloting like that forward momentum. Like, you better be doing something with all those cards, which you can. There are some great tools for doing that, but it's really easy to get lost in the weeds with Harvey, I guess is what I'm saying, and like fiddle around with your tomes and drawing cards and actions. But
to dirtle.
Yeah, but if you start wasting too many actions, like you gotta like keep getting clues. You gotta keep getting that moving forward with what you're supposed to be doing.
Eye on the prize.
Yep. So I part of that is like when I was tweaking the starter Harvey deck is being thinking carefully, like you don't need every card draw a card in the Harvey deck. Like, you figure out what that baseline is, and then that leaves room for other stuff.
Oh man, I can't wait to play with Dream Enhancing Serum in a constructed card deck. Like, dear God, he is who that card was made for.
So yeah. I think that the big hand archetype now has so many support cards. I think playing it in Mandy, I would actually go 40 cards just because I'd have so many in my hand. I wouldn't want to loop my deck every 4 turns
and get all horror. 40 in hand.
I'll get you eventually to admit that 50's fine.
50's fun.
I'll take it. I'll settle.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's a ha-ha fun. Yeah.
And yeah, I think the only other thing I'd add is, as we mentioned earlier, just careful how crazy you go before Thrice Damn Curiosity comes out, because boy, I have a very distinct memory of that one hitting me, and I shan't forget that moment anytime soon.
I want to hear a story of someone at full health, like getting one-shotted.
I'm sure it will happen to someone eventually.
At some point it will, yeah.
All right. Well, Harvey's done. Let's move it on into a little bit of tentacle time. Scott, what's been grabbing you lately?
A little bit of Marvel LCG, still plugging along at that game, really enjoyable. But
is playing the new box or playing older stuff?
The box mostly, yeah,
Okay.
the campaign. It is not an Arkham campaign. Let's just don't have any preconceived notions about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's super fun for what it does. It ever so lightly links them together. It's just finally nice to have more content to play, because there was just such a dearth of bad guys to fight. Like, we had all these heroes, but there was, the box literally doubled the amount of villains in the game.
Oh, wow.
So, it was that
That's actually
shift,
impressive.
right? Yeah. So the box was really fun. But I think the biggest one is the Nintendo released Super Mario 64 for the Switch.
Oh, did they?
And they
Yes.
did.
Yeah, it's a
It's-
3D collection.
That, Super Mario Sunshine, and what was the third one?
Mario Galaxy.
Yeah, so those three in one thing. I've only touched Super Mario 64 because I love that game, and I'm just playing it nonstop, and my son loves watching it, so... Yeah.
That's probably the Mario game I've played more of than any other Mario game. I sunk so much time
Samesies.
into that.
Before Odyssey, I would argue it was the best.
Mm-hmm.
It's still
Odyssey
a
is
solid
basi-
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Odyssey is literally just Super Mario 64 just in the newest generation.
Right.
With, more than 4 megabytes of disk space.
Oh my god, have you seen some... Okay, it's weird aside, but you've reminded me of this now with Mario 64. And we're in tentacle time, so I'm going to get as weird as we get. Have you guys seen any of the gaming challenges that have come out of Mario 64? My favorite one is it was one of the first levels. It's the one where there's the chain chomp up at the beginning, and there's a bunch of bridges, and there's the cannons. I think it's it might be the actual first level.
The chain chomp is the first level, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what you do is you get the extra life, and if you keep running, the extra life mushroom has to catch up with you and actually hit Mario's character to get absorbed. So what happens, the challenge that people do is you get the extra life and you have to keep outrunning it as it chases you and collect all red coins in the level before it hits you. And
Oh my gosh.
I discovered this through Game Grumps, so go check that out because they're ridiculous and hilarious. But it's just such a funny little challenge to watch happen. So go check that out. Would recommend.
That's funny.
It's terrifying to have this green mushroom suddenly become this ominous thing that's going to end your run. Yeah, would recommend.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Ian, what's been grabbing you?
Well, I would be remiss, since Nick is not here, if I didn't mention the D&D campaign that he is running, that I'm also playing in. We got a great group, and we're playing through the Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign, which just came out. The book for the campaign just came out recently. Been a lot of fun. So we stream every Tuesday night on Nick's Twitch channel. And let's see what else. I haven't had a ton of free
Marvel
time,
Avengers,
but
you still playing?
I've fallen off, not because I don't like it, just because I've fallen off all video games. I've been just busy with lots of other stuff. But I do want to get back to it soon because I do enjoy that game. I have been playing a lot of Pokemon's trading card game with my son. I've never actually played that game in my life until I've been playing it with my son because he's, of course, into Pokemon at this point. Mm-hmm. And I was like, ooh, a prime opportunity to get him into card games and get that training.
Gateway drug.
It really is. And it's been so much fun watching him learn a card game and learn just all these basic things that card gamers have to learn, like resource engines and how useful draw cards are, and just seeing those wheels spinning in his head. So I've been having a lot of fun with that and seeing him take his first venture into the card game world. For sure.
Yeah, I did the same with Lily, and it's very, very fun. And we hung around Pokemon for a little bit. I don't think she ever like really got into the mechanics. She just kind of enjoyed the collecting, and she knew some of the characters, so that was just kind of the pull for her. When we started getting into Keyforge, and she got her first deck where like there were some combos, and the fun part for me as like a gamer dad was to watch her just play these cards out by accident and hit this combo, and then pause for a second and be like,
right.
Oh, I could do this again. And I was like, haha! And now suddenly, like, Fuzzy Gruin is her favorite card, because you can just sit there and recycle it and get a bunch of amber. It's really fun to watch those pieces come together as a gamer father.
When it clicks. Yeah, for sure.
And then for my part, I'm going to kind of deviate from my normal, I guess I'm just playing Arkham and Dark Souls for the rest of my life, line. And go music. I got a music pick for you guys. So this is a band that I just kind of randomly discovered through the Spotify algorithm, and I decided to check their album out. It's called Felix Hagen and the Family. The album's called Attention Seeker. It's just some very solid, well-executed, multiple vocalists, so it's hitting kind of the same funny bone as like Mother or other a harmonic vocal. Wow, I'm really losing this sentence. Anyway, it's just very good feel-good rock. Would highly recommend checking it out. Attention Seeker is the opening riff. The one that really hooked me was Delirium Tremendous. And then if you really just want a song that's wholesome as fuck, go listen to Be a Freak, because it's literally just all about like, hey, go be weird, because weird people are happy, and it's cool. Go be weird. Be a freak. Really good music. Just try it out. It's a great album. I have been listening to it nonstop since I discovered it last week. All right.
Cool. I will.
We'll report back.
If you said mother, I mean, just,
Yeah, Scott has entered the chat.
They're definitely not as weird as Mother. Like,
no, that's okay.
And it's very hard to get weirder than Mother, but I would say it definitely kind of fits in a very similar sound area.
I don't listen to Mother for the weirdness. I enjoy it, but like it's that soundscapey,
sure,
vocalization stuff that they do. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think you'll really dig this album then.
All right.
So yeah, check it out. Felix Hagen and the Family, Attention Seeker. All right, guys. Well, this has been a tight episode in Mythos Busters parlance. The use of the word tight. So
sure.
2.5 hours.
Abusing the word a little bit, but sure.
As we do, as is our wont. So thanks, y'all, for joining us for episode 91. As I said, pay attention to episode 92, where all of the details for Iron Man are going to come out. Also, pay attention to our Facebook and all of our other social medias, depending on what you ascribe to, where we'll put out that information as well. And then if you haven't done it already, definitely come join our Discord. We're going to be announcing things there at last. So until we see you guys next time for our Iron Man prep episode, I can't believe we're already there.
Yes.
This has been episode 91 of Mythos Busters. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.